What's up, guys? Back with another fire video. My name's Kelechi. You can call me Coach K. Now, if you've clicked on this video, it's because you want to get lean, you want a six-pack, you want abs, you want to be able to take your shirt off and be proud of what you see. You want to go from fat to fit, and that's a very good goal to have. Sure, there's the aesthetic side of things, right? You want to look good, but what it does for your health, what it does for your energy levels, what it does for your drive, your ambition, how it transforms your discipline. This goal of you getting in shape, getting lean, getting a six-pack is more than just the looks. It's going to carry over into other aspects of your life and make your life much better. So it's a very good goal to have, and make sure you stay on the path and get what you want. Now, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is a common mistake that leads people down the wrong path. They end up getting discouraged and they end up quitting. That is not where we want you. That is not how we want you to end up. So definitely pay attention today. That way you don't make this mistake, and that way you can succeed and get that six-pack that you want. So let's get it. So what I'm talking about today is a mistake that is very common among a lot of beginners, especially people who have never been lean before. That is trying to get a six-pack, trying to lose 100 pounds, trying to get ripped in a single day. Guys, Rome wasn't built in a day. If you've got 20, 30, 50, 100 pounds to lose, it's gonna take time. Don't get me wrong, you can get there very quickly, but it's going to take you longer than 24 hours. A mistake that a lot of people do is that they have this goal in mind, which is a good thing. However, in order to achieve that goal, you must break it down into smaller steps. What you don't want to do is to try and get everything done in a single day. It goes against nature. Your body doesn't work that way. It's not going to happen. What I've seen people do that ruins their chances, that takes away all the steam out of their fat loss journey, is to try and do everything in a single day. And what do I mean by that? What does that look like? Well, I'll tell you. So what it looks like, what I'm trying to get across to you guys, is that people will think, I want to get a six-pack, I want to get lean, I need to diet, and I need to exercise on the right track. That is what you need to do. Where people go wrong is they think they need to go from zero exercise to Olympic athlete level training every single day, right? They want to go from eating all these junk foods and everything to only eating salad and 200 calories a day. That is not going to get you results. That is the fastest way to burn yourself out. It's the fastest way to make you believe that fat loss is way harder than it needs to be. And ultimately, you end up with the wrong mindset, right? When people display this type of behavior, and maybe it's not to that extreme, but typically what happens is they view fat loss as, okay, it's time to punish myself. It's time to destroy myself, right? They go to the gym and, oh man, I had a muffin in the morning. Now I have to go on a treadmill and myself. It doesn't work that way. I'm gonna put it on as fast as it can go, and I'm just gonna sprint nonstop, even though you haven't ran in 5 years, even though you're 100 pounds overweight. What you have to understand is that if you are going to achieve your goals, what you need to do is tailor your exercises, tailor your workouts to your current level. That is the fastest way you will lose fat, burn fat, and get closer to your goals. You see, the thing about fat loss is that it's all about consistency, right? It's not about going super hard one day and then having to take the rest of the month off because you hurt yourself, or because you're just so exhausted, or mentally you can't get yourself to that same state to where you can destroy yourself again, right? Consistency comes from doing things that you're able to do over a period of time. What you really have to do is get rid of this idea that you need perfection in order to burn that fat. You don't need to chase perfection. What you need to chase are the right habits. Habits will get you to your goal ASAP. I can't stress, it's so underrated. It's so basic, but it goes such a long way when you focus on your habits instead of thinking, oh, it has to be perfect today. Oh, today wasn't perfect, so now rest of the week, I'm just gonna go and binge on whatever fast food. No, take it in small steps. You do what's manageable, you build momentum, and then from there, naturally, things become easier. You naturally want to challenge yourself because you're seeing progress, because you're doing the little things and you think, oh, actually, I can do a bit more. But it starts with understanding that you're not trying to climb Mount Everest in a day. You're not trying to build Rome in a day. You have to break things down. So you might be thinking, you told me diet and exercise and not to go super hard, but don't I have to train hard? Don't I have to work out hard? Don't I have to change who I am if I want to get that six pack? And you're right, you do have to change. However, changing too much too quickly is the fastest way to fail. In this day and age, fat loss is actually more psychological than it is physical. You see, it's the fear that you won't succeed. It's the fear that if everything isn't super perfect, you'll fail and you waste your time. But that's not actually the case. So you're probably thinking, I get it. So you understand that you don't need to go to the extreme, but you might be wondering what type of steps should you be taking? When it comes to the fastest and most efficient way, how does it look? What do I do? Well, I'm glad you asked. So you are on the right track, obviously diet and exercise, but it's how you go about that. It needs to be structure. You need to understand exactly what needs to happen, and you also need to understand yourself, right? Change is gradual. You're much more likely to succeed and build a new habit if it's done daily versus if you do something once every week or maybe once every 2 weeks. When you get into a rhythm of doing something every single day, it becomes ingrained, it becomes easy, you don't have to think about it, and it becomes natural. That's what you want. You want your fat loss journey to feel as natural as possible. That way, your trajectory flows in the right direction without you having to think about it. You start to burn fat on autopilot, and that is what you want. So in order to do that, the initial day, it just starts off very simply, starts off with structure. It starts off with understanding what foods you need to eat, how much you need to eat, and when's the best time for you to eat. So structure, what to eat. Simplest thing I could tell you, and you've probably heard this before if you've seen some of my other videos, boom, focus on protein. Your protein sources are gonna be very nutrient dense. It's gonna have a lot of the vitamins and minerals you need, and it's also gonna be low calorie. Your meals should be made up of anywhere from 50 to about 80% protein. This will be your bulk of your calories. So what protein, your chicken, your beef, your fish, your eggs, your pork, whatever your protein source is, that should be the majority of the meal. From there, the rest of it should be made up of fats and carbs. And you want to focus on whole foods, real foods. Again, one ingredient foods, basically, if it's come from the earth or if it's an animal, those are the foods that you want to be eating. So again, I already told you the proteins. You know, if you want your carbs, whether that's rice, whether it's like your potatoes, whether you like your vegetables, whether you want to take a break from carbs, whether you want to have your fruit, just whole foods, natural foods. Reason why I highly recommend natural foods is because your body's better able to process those foods. They don't have as many additives and preservatives, meaning your body doesn't have to deal with those, so you won't have to deal with as much bloating and inflammation. And that will help you to feel better during your fat loss journey. So now that you know what foods to eat, next is how much to eat. So realize that what you're eating is extremely important, especially for your health. Then when it comes to fat loss specifically, how much you eat plays a major role. You need to be in a caloric deficit. So depending on your height and weight and your age, you'll probably type that into any app that you could find most likely. Your height and weight, type your numbers into the app, and from there, it will give you an estimate of where your calories should be. Just use that as a baseline and then make adjustments as necessary. Third thing is when to eat. Now, when to eat is a bit controversial for a lot of people. For instance, obviously with intermittent fasting being much more prevalent and popular nowadays, water fasting, lots of different methods of fasting. Then obviously you have people who tell you you need to eat your breakfast. You have people who tell you don't eat at night. Lots of controversy. But just to keep it simple, main reason why you need to know when to eat is because it's going to keep your meals regulated and disciplined. Again, it goes back to the structure. If you have a specific structure in place, it makes it much easier to stay on track because you have an actual routine that you can stick to, that your body will get used to, that you will get used to, and that will help you burn fat on autopilot. That is why it's very important to know when to eat. Now, for you specifically, mainly it's going to come down to preference. Obviously, if you're someone who likes to snack a lot, and you do a lot of mindless eating, maybe something like intermittent fasting would be good for you because it would help prevent you from consuming all of those unnecessary calories from snacking. If you're a morning person, maybe you do want to have that breakfast in the morning. So that way you've had your first meal and you're not worried about buying snacks or fast food because you're hungry during the day. Versus at nighttime, maybe you're somebody who doesn't have an appetite in the morning and you know you like your snacks a little bit too much. So maybe you want to push your meals later in the day so that way you don't snack as much and you can still get the right amount of nutrients. But your timing of your meals, again, it comes down to preference and what structure benefits you the most. But again, you definitely want to have a routine and you definitely want to have structure there. So that way you can have a routine that you can follow, that is regimented, and you will burn fat on autopilot. Now, this concept of burning fat on autopilot, basically is all it is that initially you set out what you're going to do, set out when you're going to eat, how much you're going to eat, and you make sure that everything makes sense so you can achieve your goal. The next step is just to be consistent, right? You want to turn that structure into a routine that's habit, so that way it comes natural. You do it without thinking, right? Autopilot. So keep that in mind if you want to burn fat efficiently and quickly. Don't try and destroy yourself in one day. Have a plan, make sure it's structured and follow that plan to the T, and you'll have those abs before you know it. If you need help putting together a proper plan, if you're struggling to figure out what foods to eat, what your eating routine should look like, how much exercise to do, and you need extra help on a one-on-one basis, just reach out for some coaching. Easiest way to get in contact is through WhatsApp. Obviously, if you do have any questions, please put those in the comments. I will do my best to answer all the questions that I can. I can't promise I'll be able to get to all of them, but I will do my best. And I hope this helps. Again, guys, getting in shape is really going to change your life for the better. Obviously, there's a look side of things, but what it does for your life intrinsically, you can't really put into words. So again, this is a good goal to have. Make sure you stick with it. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you get that six-pack. And until next time, peace.